Hello folks, this is Sula speaking. Welcome to another video for Teamfight Tactics. In this video we're going to be looking at a ranked game. This is from the start of the first full patch of set 7, and in this game I'm going to be playing one of the team compositions that ended up getting buffed in that patch, and that is a Corki team composition where we're going to be playing heavily into the Giant Slayer trait. So this footage was taken from the first day of the patch. I'm saving up some footage from early on in the patch because I'm going to be on vacation by the time that you see this. So kind of storing up, as I said, some gameplay from when I was actually not traveling and then having it posted on YouTube a little bit later on. So if there are any changes to the game, if there is any B patch or hotfix nerfs, that sort of thing, they may very well have been applied by the time that you see this, but this was from the release of kind of this first full patch that came out for set 7. So this is a ranked game, so I'm trying to do my best to do as well as possible. I was trying to play one of two things. I was trying to play either a Volibear team comp because Volibear was super overpowered in this particular version, or alternately, I wouldn't have minded playing into a Mirage team comp with Deja because that also got buffed quite a bit. And that's also seen as being really, really strong, at least in the limited data that we have on the first day of the patch. But and I actually thought at this point in time that I was going to be playing into a Volibear team composition because I had the items for a Bloodthirster here, a sword and a cloak, and that would be really good into that. But instead, I ended up getting kind of the pieces to play into a Cannoneers-based team composition. I have a Tristana here. I have two Sennas. And then I also, and those are kind of the main pieces. So I would end up ultimately going in that direction just because those are the units that I ended up getting. And it turned out that this worked pretty well in this particular game. So you can force things, certainly, but like this is not really a great opener to play Volibear into because I'm not really finding Dragon Dancer units. I'm sure I could just try to force, but as I said, I'm not kind of finding those particular units. All right, it's time for the first augment. And out of these options, I definitely don't want built different. I don't really want rich get richer. So I'm going to take the other option, the one that gives me the static shift. Oh, and I also then had a Heimerdinger here. So I really have all the pieces to play a Cannoneer opener. I have the Trist and I have the Corki, which allows me to start stacking up Namsi from a very early date, right from the beginning of the game. And then I also have a Senna here as well. Plus, Tristana is going to be a pretty good user of this static shiv. So I went ahead and grabbed this. This is mostly just to stabilize my early game. It means that I get a free static shiv, and it also means the static shiv is going to do 40% of its damage as true damage, which is going to be very strong early on. So I'm going to make that. I'm going to make an Infinity Edge. Eventually, the static shiv is going to fall off. Like the value of this augment is very early game focused, giving you the static shiv and then causing it to deal, as I said, 40% of its damage as true damage. It's going to fall off in value as the game goes on, but I'm hoping that this is just going to be strong enough that it can power me through the early game. And, that's very valuable on its own. If I can make an analogy to a non-Teamfight Tactics situation here, when we talk about evaluating things in turn-based strategy games, like the Civilization series that I've done a ton of rating and playing over the years, we usually try to talk about the things that help get your early game off to a good start. And that tends to be really critical in turn-based strategy games because they all snowball over time. Well, Teamfight Tactics is not quite as snowbally in that respect, but it can be in terms of the economy. And so getting off to a really strong start actually can be really powerful for the rest of your game. So if you have an augment that maybe is not going to be so great at the end of the game, but like really powers you through the early game, it can be very worthwhile to take that because if you're able to get out to an early win streak that delivers extra money, you're putting pressure on the lobby by forcing other people to take extra damage, particularly if you have like a really strong early game setup and you're dealing like 8 damage, 10 damage, 12 damage to people. You actually shorten the overall length of the game by putting that kind of damage on the other players in the hopes that you can knock them out of the lobby early. So I definitely don't regret this. I actually really like this augment, as I said, if you're playing an AD-based team composition, because that static shiv is really strong in the early game. And like, look, I have no 2-star units on my board, but I'm able to power through this fight and win fairly easily. And it's mostly just due to having that static shiv on the board, on the Tristana, because it's not like my front line is stopping much of anything with 1-star Tahm Kench and 1-star Namsi, who has not had the chance to get many snacks thus far. So far so good. I'm happy with how things are going, and I've got a whole bench full of units. I'm waiting to see what I hit here. I could opt to play, like right now I'm playing, what is it? Well, I was going to say Bruiser Frontline, but I don't really have Bruisers. I'm mostly just playing Tom Kench solo Frontline here, because if I get a Jinx, then that'll make Rebel trait. But I had the option to maybe play into Guardian Frontline, but ultimately I decided I don't think I'm going to go in that direction. I'm going to sell these units and then look to just get to 10 gold here for this round. And I could even sell the Sejuani and pre-level if I win this round, but I think I decide that I'll just hold on to these units because a 2-star Sejuani would be a nice early game frontliner as well. Alright, so we're up against someone who's playing Nidalee. Again, this is very early in this particular patch, so definitely a lot of people were still trying different things out, still learning what they could play and couldn't play. Nidalee reroll does not seem to be that strong anymore after being quite strong in the initial release version of set 7. That fight was really close. I thought we were going to lose that one, but nope, able to clutch it out even though that person had 2-star Nidalee with the Rage Blade. Frontline held up just barely long enough for Triss to get off that damage, and 1-star Triss deals like 3,000 damage, which is pretty impressive considering that she died. Also, someone is looking to play mages here. I really don't suggest playing mages unless you have just the perfect setup for it, because mages, which were already not a very strong combo before, then ate a bunch of nerfs for no clear reason in that first patch that came out, and they are not in a good place right now. We'll see if that gets changed. Will probably get changed the next time there's a patch. They were actually going to nerf Rise on top of all the other mage nerfs, and then they ultimately did not go live with that one. All right, in any case, though, so a couple different options here. It wouldn't be a bad option to take the Tom. The Tom would give me 2 out of 3 Tom Kenches, and if I could find a third one, then I'd be able to get 2-star Tom with a Dragon's Claw, which would be great. But I thought that I'd be able to get defensive. By the way, and then I could have had 2-star Tom Kench right there. But I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and take the sword. It tends to be harder to get the offensive items off carousels. And in order for this to work long term, I'm going to need to make strong items for Corki. So I don't feel bad about taking the sword there. The static shiv is not going to be on Corki long term. That item's going to be moved to someone else, like Jinx or Lulu or Tristana. So that item is basically not a Corki item. That's something that Tristana's just holding. But that won't be on Corki later on. So I still need to get more Corki items because he's going to be the most important unit that I'm playing. Anyway, I went ahead and leveled to level 5. Again, that's the standard timing to level to 5. This person is only level 4, and they're running Thrill of the Hunt, which is great if you're winning the fight, but is completely useless if you're losing the fight. And we cut right through them pretty easily. They do have 30 gold, so they're not in too bad of a shape, but I certainly prefer my position to their position right now. And considering that I don't have any 2-star units, I'm honestly pretty surprised that I'm win streaking here. I do think it points to the value of having this static shiv and the fact that I have a good setup trait-wise, even if I haven't managed to hit 2-star units yet. My board is pretty good compositionally, it's just I haven't hit the 2-stars yet. Now I do hit a 2-star, I get the Tom Kench, and then it's like, well, wait a minute, what's this? There's a Xayah in the store? Do I pick that up? I'm not planning on playing into Xayah here. Again, my setup is really good to play into Corki with the units I have here, but it's like, that is an early Xayah at 2% odds. I feel like I probably should pick that unit up. At the very least, it gives me some more options. It means I can maybe play into Ragewing later. Could still like to make Xayah my main carry. Or, if nothing else, I could play Xayah as a transition unit until I find Corki. So I'm thinking this over. I'm thinking. I'm like, do I want to pick up this Xayah? Oh, by the way, I wasn't sure if I beat this person or not. They already have a Volibear on their board, but they don't have any items on Volibear yet. They appear to be greeting for perfect items or something like that. So I wasn't sure if I would win this. Well, it turns out that I win really easily. I think having the 2-star Tom Kench helped flip that fight. And once again, we get the carry job from Tristana and win streak all the way through stage 2. So this was a great outcome. Couldn't have wanted much more here. So the time's about to run out. I think the fight's about to go into overtime, and I decide, you know what, I will pick up that Xayah after all, because the thinking was, you know what, if I can get another Tristana, I'm gonna have to sell Trist and move these items eventually anyway. Like I'm gonna have to sell Trist and put the items on Corki long term anyway. But if I find another Trist, I can just sell the current Trist, and then we'll play Xayah as a transition unit. And then she can hold the items until we would find Corki. And in fact, that'll be quite a bit better if I'm I'm running through Xayah in the mid game over this. Like 1-star Xayah is going to carry a lot harder than 1-star Trist. That's just Xayah is just a much better unit by being a 4-cost, virtue of being a 4-cost unit. So I'm going to do this, and then I see, oh, hello, there is a Trist. So now I have the option to transfer these items over. Of course, I'd want to play another Swift Shot unit as well. So do I remember to grab the Ezreal here in the shop? This I do. You might say, well, why not play Ashe? Well, if you're not playing, Ashe is basically a trait bot, and if you're not playing into her traits, it's not worth running her. So I'm on full win streak, so because I'm on full win streak, it is worthwhile to go ahead and level here. So we're going to sell the Trist, we're going to play another Trist so that we keep Namzi on the board, and Xayah's just going to hold these items for right now, put Ezreal in as a temporary unit so that we get Swift Shot trade in play, and make that Dragon's Claw. So this is just a little adaptation to seeing what I have in the shop, and swapping over to a better unit that happened to present itself to take advantage of what RNG has given me. So you always want to be looking for these kind of opportunities. If there's a chance to play something stronger, then you should usually look to try to do that. Of course, identifying what's stronger is not always the easiest thing, but anyway, so I went ahead and leveled to 6, and I'm up against the other person who's win streaking in this lobby, and I'm actually able to beat them, which is really, really nice. It looks like they're playing into Volibear, which is a little bit weird given their augments. They have Blue Battery as their first augment, which is not something that a Volibear team composition wants. Gain 20 mana after casting. That's completely useless for Volibear. And the metagame has really been shaped by Volibear here. As I said, he may very well have been hotfix nerfed by the time you see this video, but this was on the release day, and Volibear was very dominant. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and take Celestial Blessing. That makes perfect sense for the moment. It's going to mean that I don't have to itemize Lifesteal. I will get Life Restoration on any of my carries just as they deal damage. For a Silver Augment, this one's always really nice to have. It's very good. By the way, it's also very good against Volibear in this kind of Volibear meta that I was playing here, because Volibear chips down the back lines with his electric procs. So if you have some healing, it helps to mitigate against that. It's not enough to save you in all situations, but it definitely does help if you don't have to worry about itemizing lifesteal, and you can still get some health restoration on your carries when they use their basic attacks and use their abilities. I'm just scouting through the lobby right now, checking out to see who else is here. There's one other person who looks like they're playing into Corki. That person I just went by with the 3 trainer. I wouldn't mind running a Lulu, but I have not seen her yet, so no opportunity to try to get 3 trainer in. Namzi is not exactly getting stacked up all that fast because I've had 1-star Heimer and 1-star Trist the whole time, but I did get the Namzi in early at the very least, and that unit's been reasonably tanky thus far. All right, so we're up against a mage player. This person has second wind, and they also have a Rise with the Shojin, so it's a close fight. But the good news is Rise was not targeting Xayah, and then the Feather Snapback ends up killing that unit. Xayah does 6,000 damage. So we 100% do not win that fight if Trist is still holding these items. So I'm only able to win that round and keep my win streak going because I made that adaptation to transfer the items over to Xayah. So now I do find a Lulu in the shop. And as long as I can win this next round, I'll look to level and play Lulu as my next unit, because Lulu is both a great unit overall, and she will also put Trainer in play. Or no, I already have Trainer in play. It'll put Trainer 3 in play. But more importantly, it just means Namzi will get stacked up a little bit faster. I'm continuing to look at this lobby, and note one thing that's not present. Not seeing Assassins in here. This was a lobby that did not have anyone playing Assassins. It was all front-to-back team comps. Literally everyone playing front-to-back team comps. So that's actually kind of nice in terms of positioning, in that I don't have to really focus on where I'm putting my units to try to dodge Assassins. Just not needed at all in this particular lobby. So that's something that will make the later stages of the game a little bit easier. There were so many rounds where I was having to deal with so many previous games where I was dealing with 3-star Assassin Olaf. I'm very glad that that was not something I needed in this game. This person that I just hit was apparently playing the reroll Ezreal. That has definitely gone down in popularity in this patch version. They nerfed some of the key units. They nerfed Ezreal and Leona. But more importantly, it just doesn't do very well against Volibear, because that whole board, that whole concept of playing the Ezreal was just to have a super tanky Leona and a super tanky Taric, and then they just kind of stand there and you can't get through them, and then Ezreal chips down everybody from the backlines. That doesn't really work very well against the Volibear, who can kill the backlines even if he's stuck on tanks. So that was one of the things that in this version, the Volibear players have been kind of farming the Ezreal players, and Xayah is still popular, and Xayah does really well against that comp. And Corki is reasonably popular, and Corki does really well against that comp as well. So yeah, just not something that's not a setup that's performing as well as it was before, and kind of thankfully for that, because the Ezreal reroll comp was pretty annoying. All right, so as mentioned before, I leveled to level 7 and put in Lulu. This is going to hopefully stack up Namzi faster. Maybe if I can actually hit 2-star Heimer, or if I can find 2 more Triss, I'll be able to get a little bit of faster stacking as well. There were no offensive items that I wanted on that carousel, so I went ahead and took a defensive item. So I took the vest. I would not mind this being a Sunfire Cape. It would not mind making this Bramble either. Bramble plus Dragon's Claw is a really nice combination. You have like the super armor item and the super magic resistance item. So that's a possibility. I'm hoping Ornn got off his ult on like 2% health, knocked up the entire enemy backlines. I'm pretty sure I win this anyway, but that certainly made the fight a lot easier. And Xayah's been doing a fantastic job for me. I even have 2-star Ezreal in, and he made Tempest straight when I put in the Ornn, so that's great. Very nice to see. So again, just kind of adapting here. And from this position, I could potentially look to just play into Xayah. She's certainly a viable unit as well. So I wasn't sure if I would end up doing that or not, but it is a possibility. And it's always good to be able to keep your options open when playing something like this. But I wasn't really planning on that just because I had kind of this really ideal setup for Trainer. And I thought that I would probably be able to find Corki. I am going to sell the 2 Xayahs, and that's kind of a sign that, or not the Xayahs, the 2 Sennas, and that is kind of a sign that I'm not planning on playing into Xayah, because I probably want to keep that Rage Wing unit around for the possibility of playing into Rage Wing. I am also not picking up Talon. One of the more popular Xayah builds is the one that plays into Guild Trait, and I would want to pick up Talon for that. But I have had bad experiences when I've tried to play that team composition. All right, well, guess who we're up against? We're up against one of the Volibear players, and this person's at 2-star Volibear, and that means we're not winning this round because you cannot beat a 2-star Volibear, not this early in the game. Or actually, do we manage? Oh, we actually did manage to clutch it out. I thought that this was where the win streak ended, but no, we actually do clutch that out. Wow, okay, I'll take it then. Maybe being level 7 and having the Xayah in was enough to win that round, but yeah, normally the Volibear normally people hit 2-star Volley and they just win streak all through stage 3 and stage 4. But apparently not. No, we're able to win that and stretch the win streak out to 10 rounds. I'm actually misremembering this game from when I played it, which was a little bit earlier. So, as I said, I thought that's where the win streak came to an end, but it looks like we were strong enough to beat that player. They have the Rage Blade, they had the Quicksilver. Oh, you know what it is? They didn't have any lifesteal on the Volibear. They had the QSS and they had the Rage Blade, but they didn't really get a chance to fully stack up the Rage Blade. And without any healing and without the shield from Bloodthirster, that ended up being a problem. Also didn't have the tank stats from Titans, which is another one of the big items that you often build on that unit. All right, well, what do we get here? Well, we do get some good stuff, and we also find the Corki. So I'm going to go ahead and play the Corki. And now I'm going to look to transfer these items over. Remember, Corki is not going to get the static shift. I'll move that over to a different unit. I think I end up putting it on the Lulu, because Lulu is going to be pretty useful. Did sell the Xayah because I had to sell to move those items off. I can look to make a Gargoyle Stoneplate. I'm also so close to level 8. I think I just leveled to 8 and put in Jinx. There we go, for another rank of Cannoneer and another rank of Revel. And then I was like, all right, well, I'll put the sword on Corki. And then I'm like, okay, what do I do with the bow? Do I use this for Rage Blade? Do I do this for Last Whisper? And then I was like, wait a minute, there's Volibears everywhere in this lobby. I just want the Giant Slayer. Giant Slayer is the item that you want to try to deal with these the Volibears that, as I mentioned, are extremely popular and meta-defining, at least in this particular patch version. Volibear always stacks up such an insane degree of health that you're going to get the bonus damage from Giant Slayer. I think it's the base is you get innately 25% extra damage, and then I think that damage like doubles if the target's over 20 to 100 health, something like that. I will go ahead and look that up while I'm just talking here. So it's going to be really, really good against Volibear, and in fact, Giant Slayer is heavily recommended for anyone playing into this era where Volibear is super popular. Yeah, if the target is more than 2200 maximum health, the bonus increases to 50%. So abilities and attacks do 50% bonus damage if they hit that health threshold, and that's what I'm looking towards. So I think this will be a great item for me to play into. Now, there's also something interesting. I do have a Shyvana here, so I was like, it's a possibility to play into Shyvana. She did get a number of buffs. The general consensus, though, is that she's still not that great of a unit unless you can 2-star her. but it is a possibility. Traditionally, Corki has played into Idis, which is the Shimmer Scale Dragon, and you get that free item, just because Idis tends to be really tanky. But, you know, Shyvana could be a possibility as well, so I will just hold the unit for the moment. By the way, there's also a Deja in the shop, and Deja's been super strong in this patch version as well. So I'm hoping to be able to highlight that unit. I don't know if I'll be able to get any footage of it before I'm out on vacation, but we'll see. So yeah, I'll hold the Shyvana for right now. It is very expensive to do so. This unit costs 10 gold, but I'm going to see what I can hit. I'm planning to roll a little bit after the stage 4 carousel. I want to see if I can 2-star some more on my board. My front line is reasonably upgraded, but my back line is mostly all 1-stars, so I wouldn't mind getting that. By the way, Ezreal is still on my board. I actually forgot that Ez was still on my team, so I think he sticks around for a round or two because I totally forgot that he was just there. I guess he is providing Tempest trait, so that's not nothing. Oh, all right, so here we go. And then I do find an Idis. I was like, all right, well, Shyvana, you were maybe a possibility, but I think I'll just play Idis instead. So I'm going to go ahead and play this unit. I'm going to take the Ez out. I'm going to transfer these tank items over to the Idis. I've got Goldmancer Staff, which is not the item that I want. It provides extra ability power. So I'm going to go ahead and put my tank items on Idis. And then I put the item on Idis. It's actually not terrible on Idis if you have a lot of gold because it gives ability power and it increases the size of the shield that Idis gets. Like, it's actually not that bad on Idis. But I forgot that Corki still had an empty item slot open. This item should have gone on Corki because then Corki will print me money. And it will mean that Corki's attacks do a bit more damage. Again, Corki deals physical damage, so AP is not amazing on him. But, you know, it would be kind of like just putting a death cap on him. Not terrible, just not ideal. Anyway, this fight's fairly close. If we could just somehow get through the Idis and get onto the Ezreal, I think we win this one. So we do kill that, and now Corki, oh, stop spending time walking around, get over to that Ezreal. There we go. So we actually do win that round, and I think you see the fact that the Ezreal board is weaker in this patch version right there. I feel like that Ezreal wins pretty easily if this was the previous patch, but some of the nerfs definitely affecting that. And hey, maybe the Idis shields did in fact make a difference, so maybe it actually was good having this on Idis. I am still full win streaking. I have won 13 rounds in a row, so I'm not going to complain about that. I still do have one item slot left over for Corki. So out of these particular options, I was like, you know, I think I could just take the bow. That could be a Rage Blade. It could be a Last Whisper. Or it could just be another Giant Slayer. I have to think about what I want in this last item slot here, because we have the Treasure Dragon coming up, and I'll be able to force something out of it. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and roll, and I'm looking to see. And then I was like, oh, well, we hit 2-star Corki easily. I was like, well, let's go to level 9 now. I think that even though, honestly, the entire rest of my board is 1-starred, and maybe I should roll more, I'm on 100 HP, so I have so much health to work with. I think that it makes sense to fast 9 here. We're going to lose some rounds. We definitely will not keep win streaking off this. But how much health we lose should be minimized with Corki being 2-starred. By the way, someone else has 2-star Corki as well. I have no idea how I was able to hit 2-star Corki that easily, given that there were already 3 Corkis out of the pool. So yeah, this is the other person who is playing what I have. And they also have a 2-star Corki. And they have a 2-star Idis as well, but they have no items on Idis, and that's actually a really big problem because this team composition really needs tanky frontline. If you don't have a strong tank, then you're in a lot of trouble. Oh, that's very sad. That's a sad one. That round gets won by Thrill of the Hunt because that Corki was very low, but then started killing people and healed off the Thrill procs. That's a bit sad, but it is what it is. Win streak was going to come to an end at some point. It would have been nice to run it all the way through the rest of Stage 4, but, you know, you can't reasonably expect to win 13 rounds in a row at the start of the game. And I was pretty lucky to win a couple of those fights. Already, I had some close fights. Anyway, we have Treasure Dragon coming up, so I'm thinking about what I want for this last item, and it was on Corki, and it was like, do I want a Rage Blade? Do I want a Last Whisper? I was like, I don't think I want Last Whisper, because, like, I was looking at the different team compositions, and I was like, there's not really that much armor on some of these other teams, though I didn't see that this Volibear was eating a Lee Sin who had a Thorn Mail. Maybe I would have gone for Last Whisper if I'd realized that this Volibear was eating a Lee Sin with a Bramble Vest. So maybe I should have gone for a Last Whisper here. I didn't realize that this Volibear had that much armor. But I was like, I don't think it's Last Whisper. I was like, is it Rage Blade? You know, Rage Blade would not be bad. Corki would ramp up throughout the fight. But I was like, I kind of feel like if my main opposition are these Volibears, I kind of feel like maybe it's another Giant Slayer. because that would mean that Corki's abilities do 100% bonus damage to those units. So I actually feel like another Giant Slayer would not be bad here. And then I see this round, I'm like, hey, another Giant Slayer, plus I can get a Chalice too. That sounds pretty good. Let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to go ahead and take this. And I'm going to, let's see, make the other Giant Slayer. So it's going to be Infinity Edge double Giant Slayer. Corki the Giant Slayer. And then we've got the Chalice here as well. And then unfortunately I have this Infinity Edge. I was like, all right, this I actually can't use. So this is somewhat less than great. But the Chalice is actually really nice. And the extra Giant Slayer is going to be great against high health targets. So I basically am like going all out to try to stop the Volibears. With the double Giant Slayers. This is not going to be great against anything that is normal health, but it's going to be amazing against Volibear. And now I just hope that I can survive long enough to actually kill the thing. I just need to get my board upgraded. Corki is the only 2-star unit. Literally the only 2-star unit on my board. So anyway, I slap the Infinity Edge on Trist, and we go from there. There's another change in this patch that previously, the round following the Treasure Dragon was treated like a normal round. You would get income, there would be a shop refresh. They've now removed that. It's no longer considered a new round. You might have noticed I did not get any extra gold, and I don't have a shop refresh either. So that's also kind of a change. And even though it's kind of a small thing, it does actually pull a decent amount of economy out of the game. It was a little bit easier to get to level 9 with having that extra round, and now you don't get that anymore. So we're up against another Volibear player here. I don't think this person's Volibear is quite as well set up as the other one. This person has Volibear eating a Lee Sin that has a Thief's Glove, as opposed to the other person who has it eating a Lee Sin with a Bramble Vest. So I don't think this is quite as good. Unfortunately, this Volibear is still strong enough to kill me, though, because it has perfect items. And you can see just never makes it past the tank, never gets past Itis, but that doesn't matter. Volibear can still easily kill Corki anyway. And despite my best efforts, I am not able to chop down, not able to chop that unit down. So I'm going to, by the way, I'm going to make an adaptation here. I pick up the Jade Dragon, Shi-O-U, because she provides a rank of Mystic Trait. Now, she's not quite as tanky as Itis, and she doesn't give you the Shimmer Scale item either. But Mystic Trait is really, really good into Volibear because his Lightning arcs out to the back lines and just chips down all your units. So getting ranks of Mystic Trait helps prevent that and helps protect you against that damage. That kind of otherwise chips down the entire rest of your team. So I'm going to pick this up, and we'll just see what we hit. If we hit 2-star Itis, we'll probably continue playing Itis. But if I can hit 2-star Shi-O-U, then that's a possibility. It would also be really nice if I could manage to find my way to play Bard, because Bard would also give me a rank of Mystic. And Lulu, of course, gives me Mystic as well. So I could easily play 3 Mystic, which I believe is about 100 MR for every unit on the team. Goes really, really well into those Volibear boards. Anyway, this person is the one playing the mages, and Corki is going to do his best, but ultimately we get cut through and lose the round. Again, I'm not surprised by this. I expected that I would start losing rounds right now because I'm pushing to level 9, whereas other people are rolling it down at level 7 or level 8. And then I get another Jade Dragon, and I was like, all right, well, let's not bleed out too much health here. Let's get to level 9. And by the way, I should have picked up that Tom Kench. And then we find the Bard. I was like, all right, well, since I have the Bard, let's definitely look to go ahead and play this. I also will grab the Yasuo. That's probably going to be better than something. And then I sell the Yasuo. I think I needed more gold here. So let's go ahead and drop the extra unit that was not useful. The Heimerdinger. I don't need Heimer in here anymore. Heimer was just stacking up the Namzi faster. Transfer the tank items over to the Jade Dragon. Then we've got to reposition to make use of the Jade statue. And now we have 3 Mystic in, which is going to be pretty nice against any team that deals magic damage. We're actually up against this Xayah comp, and even though I'm not particularly well positioned, we're actually doing pretty well here. The Shyvana just gets chopped down by Corki without too much trouble, and now I'm thinking that Corki wins this. Oh, Lulu, you got me with the Polymorph? Yes, she does, so we're going to be able to win that. And considering that I still have a lot of 1-stars on my board, I think that this is auguring pretty well. Yeah, there we go. 3 Mystic is 100 MR. I actually did think about playing Nami for 4 Mystic because that would be even better against the Volibear, but I don't think I ever actually played Nami. I didn't do a good enough job of looking for her in the store. All right, so we've got another carousel here. I'm going to go ahead and let's see. Out of the options here, what I most wanted was the Sunfire Cape. I think that would be pretty nice. That would provide a bit of a heal cut for these Volibears. I do have a little bit of a heal cut. I have the Namzi, whose ability is a healing debuff. But unfortunately, that gets taken. So I'm going to go ahead and take this Titan's Resolve instead, which is going to be a very good item on Shio-Yu. It's one of her best items. But it's also on a Tom Kench, which I think is not the worst unit to play here either. So I actually am just going to be like, all right, well, why don't we just play this? It gives me a rank of... gives me Bruiser trait and gives me a rank of Rebel. So I'll play that for now. I'm still looking for Sona. I do find Sona. Goodbye, Jinx. Sona is much better than you. Sorry. Sorry, but you are a better unit. And then there's a Bard here, so I'm going to pick that up. That's 2 out of 3 Bards. Now, can I find one more Shio-Yu? That's probably the unit I most want to 2-star at the moment. And I still need to get this Jade statue repositioned into a better spot because, remember, it does provide attack speed and healing. Oh, this person had a Zephyr, but they did not point it at Corki. So this is the person who's playing the Ezreal board. But Corki does pretty well up into this setup. Number one, because my Giant Slayer is good against the 3-star units on the team. And then also the Rebel procs kind of hit the back line here. Like, look how low the Ezreal is. Sona and, like, Sona's abilities and Corki's rockets just keep hitting the back line. That said, this is still super close. Can we manage to clutch this out against Leona? We don't have a heal cut for her, and oh... Looks like the 3-star Leona's got it, but I feel like if I can 2-star the rest of my board, I definitely win against that particular team composition. There's another Sona. All right, let's see if we can get this Jade statue positioned a little bit better. And let's see, I'm going to move over here and move over here. I don't know if this is quite right, but it should be a little bit better. By the way, I'd like to sell the Tom to get this... what's it called? This Titan's Resolve off of the Tom Kench, but I need to find another Tom to do that. And that is not something I can do just yet. All right, so we're continuing on here, and we're hitting the end of Stage 5. Feels like there's still a ways to go in this. Oh, so here's another little thing that's interesting about the Volibear team comps. It's very common in these Volibear team comps for Volibear to be the only unit left alive at the end of the fight, because the rest of the team literally just is there to make Volibear stronger. So you see a lot of these fights end with Volibear as the only unit still alive. And then that means that the winning team deals very little damage to the losing team because, as he said, Volibear, if he's the only unit alive, you're not going to take a whole lot of damage. By the way, look at this. This is pretty close. I feel like if my front line was just a little bit stronger, we might be able to win this. And note that I lose, but how much damage do I take? Well, it took, what, 9 damage? That's not very much for Stage 5. So that's part of the reason why this game is dragging out a little bit. Is the Volibear players are winning tons and tons of rounds, but dealing very minimal damage to the other players when they actually beat them. So that's another reason why Volibear is kind of shaping how the game, how the meta of these games ends up going. By the way, I've seen a whole bunch of Shyvanas. I probably could have had 2-star Shyvana by now, but nope, I want the Shio-Yu. I want that rank of Mystic trait. I want all that extra magic resistance. Now I just need to 2-star the rest of my board, and I think I'll have a decent shot in some of these fights if I can do that. And remember, Namzi is still slowly getting stacked up, not especially fast, but is getting stacked up over time. If this gets to like the end of Stage 6, we'll be getting close to a 4-star Namzi, which would be, pretty nice. So that's another scaling factor. By the way, there is yet another Idis. I couldn't find Idis, and then as soon as I transitioned out of Idis, I've seen nothing but Idises. Still looking for that Shio-Yu. Some extra Corkis, but I don't think I'm hitting Corki 3-star. Oh, there we go. Okay. So we can do that, and then there's a Tom in the store, so we can sell and replace this, put this item on a much better Shio-Yu, instead of putting it on, what's his name? Instead of putting it on Tom Kench, who's literally just in there as a trait bot. As far as this blue buff, I don't really have a good way to use this. I'll just put it on Bard so he ults almost instantly at the start of the fights. It's not especially great. It also does cost me meditation value. I should have mentioned I do have meditation in here, but I don't really have anyone else to put it on. Bard's unlikely to ult twice in the fights, so this is pretty much just so Bard ults a little bit faster. All right, this person's running a Shyvana, but again, the Giant Slayer value is enormous against that unit. They also had a 2-star Yasuo, who I believe had enough health to trigger the Giant Slayer benefit as well. So that board actually looked pretty strong, but now that I have the 2-star Dragon for my front line, Shio-Yu just got vastly tankier. These are actually very, very good items for Shio-Yu if you're just running her as a tank. Dragon's Claw, Gargoyle, and then Titans. She's going to be a very difficult unit to kill, and that's all that I really need is I just need to buy time for Corki to scale up and do his thing. And now it's down to just 3 of us in the lobby. I was like, oh, this person's got a 3-star Volibear. And look at the items he's getting. He's getting a Bramble Vest and a Dragon's Claw when he eats the Lee Sin. That's pretty insane. Yeah, that's not what you want to see. So I decided, well, let's try something different. Maybe if we play over here on the left-hand side, maybe this will be better because like maybe we can focus the Volibear sooner in this lobby. But this actually does not end up working pretty well because the Sona is going to target her ult over there at the Swain, and I was like, all right, this was the wrong side to be on. I wanted to give it a try at least to see how it would go, but no, this is not right. Sona is miscasting her ultimate, so I definitely don't want to be over here, and I want to buy maximum time for Corki to hit things. So yeah, this person's got 3-star Volibear, so I was like, well, I'm probably not winning this lobby, but I've got to do the best I can to see what I can make from this situation. So I'm going to keep rolling here. We already have 2-star Sona. There is 2-star Bard, so I'll just go ahead and lock for that. So let's get back over here to the right-hand side, which I think is better, just because Sona will target her ult a little bit more strongly. And I'm trying to put the Jade statue next to my tanks so that they get that health regeneration bonus. And it looks like the other person still in this lobby is the Ezreal player, so they did manage to make it to the end of the game. They also have a Zephyr that I have to be careful of, so I was like, oh, are they going to Zephyr my Corki? Well, it turns out this is a Ghost round, so they're actually targeting that Zephyr at the Volibear player, so that's why it's in some random spot. I think it hit Namzi on my board. It's because I'm not the focus of them. They're positioning for the other player. I wasn't too worried about this board. With my Giant Slayer, I thought that I actually beat this comp pretty decisively nowadays. So I was like, all right, well, you know what? If I can beat this player and then this player just loses to the 3-star Volibear player, then at least I'm locked into second place. So that's kind of my hope now. Now I'm like rooting for the 3-star Volibear because I want them to knock out the Ezreal player. So there we go. Take some damage, Ezreal. But so I win the round. Unfortunately, I don't deal any damage because it's a ghost round, but whatever. Out of these items, I don't know that there's anything I want that badly here. I was kind of like, I'm not sure. In retrospect, I should have just taken the Yasuo, in part because that all... Oh, you know what I did? I took the Morellos. That actually was a good choice. Maybe I should have just taken the Yasuo and played Yasuo because, you know, just, again, a generically good item. But I actually think this was the right decision. I was going to second-guess myself, but no. Sula in the moment makes the correct decision. We need a heal cut for that Volibear, and Sona is really good at applying Morellos. So this does cost her meditation. She will not get the meditation bonus, but I do think this is the right call here because we need a way to make sure we cut the healing. And Namzi is not reliable enough on Namzi's self to be able to pull that off. So that person ended up taking a Cavalier emblem to put on their Lee Sin. Like, is that enough to swing this fight? I don't think so. I don't think Cavalier 2 is going to be that big of a difference. And I thought that they might reposition their Zephyr to hit Corki, but no, they just, for whatever reason they did, maybe they forgot they had the Zephyr, so they do not reposition it. And that's great news for me because Corki is going to stay perfectly safe. Again, as mentioned, no assassins in this lobby. Every single fight is a front-to-back team fight. So Corki is just in the back corner. Corki is very safe. All the Rebel procs are killing the back line over there. Could have been a better Bard ult. Tossed it at the Karma and hit nothing else. But yeah, because there's so many 3-stars in this lobby, the Giant Slayers are just giving me crazy value. And so we're going to be able to knock that player down to 16 HP. So I was like, all right, well, you know, these last rounds were fun. Unfortunately, now I have to cycle back to 3-star Volibear again. I was like, oh boy. Okay, is there anything I can do to kill this unit? This Volibear is absolutely cranked. Has, like, perfect items. They've also hit a 3-star Anivia as well. And I think they're closing in on 3-star Lee Sin, which is going to be really bad because 3-star Lee Sin will give all its stats over to Volibear. So I was like, this is not really what I'm looking for, but I don't see any way to improve my position by, like, shuffling around. And, wait, no, they do have 3-star Lee Sin. Oh, no. Oh, no. Volibear is getting... He's getting a Zeke's from Lee Sin. He's also getting a Bramble Vest, plus he's getting the Dragon's Claw. So he has just absolutely insane tank stats. Ooh, that's not what we want. We're actually doing a lot of damage, but I cannot cut through this unit fast enough with perfect items and all the 3-star bonuses. So I was like, oh, man. Yeah, I guess I lose that one. It's like, well, at least on the other side, the 3-star Volley is going to knock out this other player, right? Right? They're going to knock out the Volley, right? And it's like, no, actually they won the Ghost round. I was like, are you kidding me? They won the Ghost round too? Oh, man. Am I going to get stuck in third place in this game? Because they apparently now are beating the Volibear player, or at least won a single round against Volibear. So, oof. But there's a ray of hope here. Ah, there's a Zephyr. Ooh. Well, if there's one weakness of the Volibear comp, it is not very good against Zephyrs. Because you can try to Zephyr out Volibear himself, which of course means that you can kill most of the rest of the team before he gets a chance to do his thing and start ramping up. Or, and this is also a possibility, you can also Zephyr out the legend unit, and then Volibear doesn't eat them. Yeah, so he then will not get the stats when that happens. But it looks like I'm up against the non-Volibear player. I'm up against the Ezreal player. So I was like, this is probably the fight for who gets second place in this game. So I'm just going to keep rolling here, although I'm not too focused on rolling. Oh, well, we hit Triss 2-star on 7-1. And then I hit Volibear, so I was like, you know what? I think we got to play this Volibear. That's got to be better than something, right? It's got to be better than a 1-star Tom Kench. I know it drops Bruiser and Rebel trait, but that still has to be better. So what we're going to do here is reposition swap at the last second, and we're going to Zephyr out this Ezreal. For some reason, this person does not... Oh, I think they were positioning once again for the Volibear team composition. Although that's a very odd place to put their Zephyr on the Karma, but whatever. So I take the Ezreal out of the fight because Ezreal is really the only one who deals any damage in this team whatsoever. And as soon as he's gone, we just, annihilate this board. It's like, all right, so we're going to win our round. And then what's going to happen over in the other round? Who wins this? Is it Volibear or is it Ezreal? And it looks like it's Volibear who's winning this time around. I know he's starting to get a little bit low, but he's Volibear. He just doesn't die in these fights. And there we go. Can he knock out the other player? Yes. Okay. So at least I'm guaranteed a second place finish here. At least I'm guaranteed a second. And now I really have to make use of this Zephyr, though. It's like, how can I make use of this Zephyr? Is this person going to be aware that they should be looking to dodge the Zephyr from me? I was like, do I go for the Lee, which means that Voli will not eat his stats, or do I just try to take out the Volibear himself? I was like, you know what? I think I just try to take out the Volibear himself. Let's go for that first, and if it fails... well, it can always be a learning tool, so I'm going to have to position Sona in a weird spot, but that's okay. And did this person pay attention? Did they shuffle at the last second? No, they did not. So we're going to lift the Volibear out of the fight, and the hope is we can just kill the entire team by the time Volibear comes back down, and just delay how long it takes him to get his ult off. Remember, he needs time to get that off, and oh, what's this? This seems to be working. Hello, my whole team is still alive, and the Volibear is dead. We actually chopped him down. Now it's just the Anivia, who, by the way, is also a 3-star unit. But Yasuo's got that. And, that's another possibility, too. If we kill everything other than the Volibear, Yasuo can chop him down. Because Yasuo always kills units if they're the last unit alive. And it's the third proc of his ultimate. So Yasuo gives us another out as well. I was like, okay. We actually beat this person, so if we can win one more round, yeah, they shuffled the Volibear over a tile. I'm like, oh, that's okay. You know what? You stay there. Keep the Voli right there, because if you keep the Voli there, I'm going to Zephyr out the Lee Sin, and then you won't eat Lee Sin and get all his stats. So I am totally fine with this positioning. Let's just do the same thing again. There we go. And they actually swapped the Voli back at the last second, but I was like, oh, you just want to run the same fight back again? Okay. That works for me too, because we just saw how this fight went, and I won it pretty decisively. So let's just do the same thing again. We have gotten through the front line, and it's literally just the Volibear, but he's not strong enough by himself to take on my whole team. And the Giant Slayers, the double Giant Slayers on Corki. We did it. We cut down the Volibear and do just enough damage to finish that one off for the first place finish. So, ooh. That was a tough one. That was a game where I had to plan well in advance how I wanted to deal with Volibear, and fortunately it worked. So 3 Mystic, the heal cut on the Sona, the double Giant Slayers, all combining together to try to take down this absolute monster Volibear. But it worked, and that's a first place finish, so I will take it and enjoy my promotion to Gold 1 status. In any case, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed this video. Until next time, hope you guys are having a good week. Take care, folks.